You're lying. My husband would never work here, I whispered, staring at the dusty construction site. The foreman frowned and wiped sweat from his neck. Lady, that man said he had no wife. My chest tightened as I watched the man lifting heavy cement bags, because the man bending under that weight was my missing husband. My name is Danielle Carter, and I'm 34 years old. Before everything fell apart, my life was quiet in the best way. I worked as a high school librarian in a small town where the smell of old books and paper dust hung in the air every morning. I loved that job. Students would walk in loud and restless, and after a few minutes, they would calm down between the shelves. It felt like my small corner of peace. I married my husband believing we were building something steady together. Nothing fancy, just a simple life. I always thought of myself as the dependable one in the family. I paid the bills on time, remembered birthdays, and kept our home warm and calm. I was never flashy, never rich. I wasn't the loudest person in a room either, but I believed loyalty mattered. I believed patience kept a marriage strong. My dream was simple: a small house with sunlight through the windows, maybe children someday, laughter around the dinner table. Then one night he vanished. No fight happened, no warning. I woke up and he was gone. No note, no message, just silence. Friends said he abandoned me. His family shrugged like it was normal. But I wasn't powerful or glamorous. I just had something they never expected. I refused to stop searching for the truth. And if you're listening right now, maybe you understand that kind of silence, when someone disappears and leaves you with questions nobody wants to answer. If you've ever lived through something like that, subscribe and share your story below. And if you believe truth always finds a way out, give the story a like and click hype. 6 months passed before the first crack in the mystery appeared. I had gone to a nearby town for a school conference. It was nothing special, just a day of meetings about reading programs and student engagement. On the drive back, I stopped at a small roadside diner. The place smelled like coffee and fried onions. The waitress refilled my mug and started chatting the way small-town workers often do. She studied my face for a moment. Then she said something strange. "You know, you look like the wife of a guy who works down the road." I blinked. "What guy?" She pointed toward the highway. "Big, quiet guy. Looks just like you described your husband when you were talking on the phone earlier." My heart thumped once, hard. "That's impossible," I said. But 10 minutes later, I was driving toward that construction site anyway. Dust filled the air when I arrived. Workers shouted over the sound of machines. And then I saw him. He was carrying heavy cement bags across the site. His shoulders looked thinner. His face was rougher with a beard. But it was him. I stepped forward slowly. "Evan?" He froze. For 1 second, our eyes met. Then he looked away. I walked closer. My voice shook. "Evan, it's me." He stared at me like I was a stranger. "You're mistaken." The words hit me like cold water. "You're mistaken," he repeated. The foreman walked over and frowned at us. "Everything all right here?" I pointed at my husband. "That's my husband." The foreman shrugged. "Lady, he told us he's single, said he had no family." The workers nearby started watching. I could feel their eyes burning into my back. Humiliation crawled up my neck. Evan dropped the cement bag and wiped his hands. "I have to get back to work." Then he walked away, just like that. No explanation, nothing. As he walked across the dusty ground, something caught my eye. His hand. There was a wedding ring on his finger, but it wasn't the one I gave him. That night, I followed him. I waited outside the cheap motel where he was staying until the sun went down. When he came out to buy food, I stepped in front of him. He froze again. "Talk to me," I said quietly. He rubbed his face. "You shouldn't be here." "You disappeared for 6 months." "Go home, Danielle." "Tell me why." He looked around nervously before whispering something that cut deeper than any lie. "Pretend I died." I felt my chest tighten. "What?" "It'll be easier for you." That's not an answer. But he walked away again. The next morning, I called his parents. I thought they would want to know he was alive. Instead, his mother sounded annoyed. "You went looking for him?" "I found him." Her voice turned sharp. Maybe he ran away for a reason. The words stung. "You think I'm the reason?" I think you should stop bothering him." The call ended quickly. That was when I knew something was wrong. A few days later, I checked our bank account. My stomach dropped. Large withdrawals had been made the week before he disappeared. Thousands of dollars were gone. At first, I thought the worst. Maybe he's stolen the money and started a new life. But something about his fear at the construction site didn't match that story. So I started digging. Quietly. Carefully. Being a librarian means noticing details. Small things others overlook. I began saving documents. Bank records. Old emails. Messages that seemed ordinary at first. Patterns started appearing. Transfers connected to his father's construction company. Payments that didn't make sense. Months before he vanished, my husband had been meeting people late at night. His calendar showed strange entries, phone numbers I didn't recognize. What nobody realized was that I had always kept copies of our financial records. Every statement, every tax document. I compared everything. The deeper I dug, the more dangerous the truth started to look. And slowly, one thought formed in my mind. My husband might not have run away. Someone might have forced him to disappear, and that someone might be closer than I ever imagined. That was when I called Lena. She was my husband's cousin, the quiet one nobody in the family paid much attention to. We met at a small coffee shop. The sound of cups clinking echoed around us. Lena leaned forward. I always thought something was wrong. With Evan? With his dad. She explained that the family business had problems for years, workers who were never fully paid, rumors about missing tax money. Evan found something, she whispered. What kind of something? Proof. She said Evan had been arguing with his father constantly before disappearing. You think his dad threatened him? I asked. She nodded slowly. Lena helped me gather more information. Old employees, witness statements, financial records. Meanwhile, his family acted like nothing was happening. They believed I would eventually give up. They underestimated me. Weeks later, I arranged a meeting with a lawyer. I invited Evan and his parents, pretending we needed to discuss divorce. The lawyer's office smelled like paper and leather chairs. Everyone sat down around the table. My hands were steady. I placed a thick folder in front of them. Evan's father frowned. What's this? I met his eyes calmly. Before we talk about divorce, maybe we should talk about fraud. The lawyer opened the folder and began explaining. The company had been diverting wages and hiding taxes for years. Evan had discovered the scheme. His father's face turned red. That's nonsense. The lawyer continued. We also have emails threatening Mr. Carter after he discovered these activities. Evan looked down at the table. His father slammed his hand down. He had no right digging into my business. The room went silent. The lawyer nodded slowly. Thank you. That statement will be included in the report. Evan's father realized what he had just admitted. Police investigators were already waiting outside. I turned to Evan. You could have told me the truth. He looked exhausted. I thought protecting you meant staying away. The investigation destroyed the family business. His father faced serious charges for financial fraud. Workers finally spoke up about unpaid wages. The family reputation collapsed. Evan apologized again and again. He said he wanted to fix everything between us. But something inside me had already changed. Trust doesn't disappear all at once. It breaks slowly, piece by piece. And when it's gone, it's gone. I left the marriage. A few months later, I moved to another city and took a job at a new library. The quiet shelves felt familiar again. Sometimes I think about the life I thought I had, but I also remember something important. Sometimes the truth doesn't repair a relationship. It simply shows you why it had to end. And finding that truth gave me peace. Now, I want to ask you something. Have you ever discovered a truth about someone you trusted that completely changed everything? Share your story in the comments and subscribe if you want to be part of this community. And if you think more people should hear stories like this, click hype to help it reach them. Your story has power too. If you felt a connection to mine, subscribe and tell your journey in the comments. Every hype helps someone else feel less alone. Thank you for listening and for reminding the world that truth always finds its way to the surface.